princess. We asked parents, what's your kid's favorite princess? How much do you identify with it? We asked about toys. How frequently do they play with toys related to any Disney princess? And then how often does your child watch TV shows or movies portraying Disney princesses? So it's kind of a three-prong approach, right? So how much do they identify with it? How much do they play with the toys? And how much do they watch the movies? We also just asked how much TV they viewed as a control variable, because higher levels of TV is related to more gender stereotyping. All right, so gender stereotyping, we measured a bunch of different ways. So these are some kids from our study. These are actually from the Head Start school sample here. So we had them sort different toys. And some of them were very female gender stereotypes. So little dolls and a tea set, and the little girl on the top, you can't tell, but it's some fairy wings that she's sorting. And then we had some boy toys. So hammers and some superheroes and some monster trucks. And then we had some gender neutral toys like a leapfrog and Play-Doh. And we had them sort them into the different boxes. You can see it better on the bottom picture. So how much would you like to play with the toy? I'd like to play with the toy a lot. Just a little bit. And then the end, which you can't see, is I wouldn't like to play with the toy, and it's a frowny face. So we had them sort these toys. And if they're doing a lot of I want to play with a lot of girl toys, it's evidence of more female gender stereotyped. We also had teacher report on it. You can see an example of an item, and then parents had a whole battery reported on their kids' toys, their activities, and their characteristics. And we used all of these different reports as our measure of gender stereotyping. Then we took a couple measures of body image. So here was the child's body image. So they either get the boy or the girl one. And all we could ask is, which one of these is your favorite? It's not the best measure of body image. The IRB, which is the ethics people on campus, hated that we were testing body image in preschoolers. And so we really had to struggle with them to even get to ask this single question. Let me just tell you, so let's look at the bottom one for the girls. You see that the number 1 is very, very thin, right? You can see your ribs. And unfortunately, which made me sad, most of the girls picked that one as their favorite. We had no one pick number 3. All right, so that just kind of gives you a feel for even very, very young girls' perception of what is pretty and what they want to be like. And those were counterbalanced as well. And we also had parents report on their own child's body image, and then the parent's own body image as a control. Then parents and teachers fill out this huge long survey about their child's behavior, about their aggression, prosocial behavior, both physical and relational forms. Then we asked the child, we showed them this little chart with all the Disney princesses, and we said, who is your favorite princess and why? And so you'll see this little girl is pointing to Mulan, which was an extremely rare response, I should say. And we asked the parents too, who's your favorite princess and why? All right, so let's get to some results. So 40% of girls play with Disney princess toys multiple times a week. Only 17% never or rarely play. So, right, it's a very, very common thing. 21% of girls view Disney princess media weekly, with 32% viewing it several times a month. Only 4% of our preschool girls never view Disney princess media. So 96% do. That's a huge figure. Thoughts about princesses. So remember, this is the question we asked the little girls. Who's your favorite princess and why? All right, Rapunzel is the winner, 23%, and it was kind of just after Rapunzel came out, so that kind of makes sense. Cinderella, who is one of the oldest princesses, though, way popular still. And then Ariel was number 3. And then we asked about why, and we coded all these responses. So 42% mentioned an image-related reason why they like that princess. So here's a thought. This is Rapunzel. She is super pretty and has long hair. That's why that one is her favorite princess. 21% mentioned merchandise. So, for example, because I have the dress of Snow White, or I have the movie, that was a common response. 19% just said, I don't know. And then only 8% mentioned an interpersonal characteristic or skill. So the little girl who pointed to Mulan, why do you like Mulan? Because she saved China. So that was a little more deep response, I thought. So what do the moms like? Number 1 response was Belle. who's my favorite princess, so I can relate. Mulan was number 2, Rapunzel number 3. And there was mixed feelings about Disney princesses with the mothers. The girls all love them, but the mothers, mixed responses. So we coded their responses as well. So in terms of positive, 20% said they were positive role models. So here's a quote. They seem like wholesome, kind characters who work through some challenges to be a stronger person. 9% thought that they encouraged positive and imaginative play. So my daughter loves to play dress up after watching a princess show. It actually helps her want to use pretend play more. But they mentioned a bunch of negatives, so see if you can relate to these. 17% specifically mentioned sexualization or body image concerns. So Disney princesses give me a pain because I think Disney has pimped them all up and hypersexualized them. 10% mention a false reality. I like happily ever after, but I do not feel that Disney princesses portray real life. They are fairy tales. 9% specifically mentioned that they're a negative role model. So they worry me, as many of them are bratty and very materialistic. So if you think about them, some are way worse than others. Okay, this last quote I can so relate. This is just to feel for you. We vowed before we had kids to not allow our daughter to become a princess fan. Impossible. She is such a girly girl and on her own, with no prompting from us, fell in love with everything princesses. We were powerless to stop it. And I feel like this reflects what a lot of parents feel about the princess culture as a whole. We don't really push it on our kids, but boy, they latch on to it, despite our best efforts. All right, so here is my main results slide, and it's a little complicated, but I'm going to walk you through it. So on the left are the variables we're predicting. So the main one you want to look at is that Disney princess variable. So remember how much they watch it, how much they play with toys, and how much they identify with it. And then on the other side of the model by Bell are those things we're predicting: gender stereotyping, body image, and pro-social behavior. And aggression is not in the model because there was no findings. All right, so the first thing right here, what we found is that those girls who watched a lot of Disney princess movies and identify with the princesses were more gender stereotyped than those who didn't. And it was a very, very strong finding, as you can see, highly, highly significant. So they were more gender stereotyped. Now this one threw me for a loop here, so I'd love your thoughts on it. Princess girls, right, so the ones who like Disney princesses actually had better body image than those who didn't. And I thought it would be worse, but they had better body image. And maybe it's because body image concerns don't really happen until about age 5 and 6, so a little bit later. So maybe we'd see some problems later on. But maybe they're just identifying with these princesses so much and who are beautiful and confident about themselves, and so maybe they get a little bit of that to themselves. And lastly, we found that watching princess movies was associated with being more pro-social. So these were the girls who were the nicest in the class, who shared the most and who said the most kind things. So I thought that was very interesting. It's not surprising because if you think about the princesses themselves, they're very pro-social. They're very kind. They're very self-sacrificing. So they have a lot of really great qualities. Now, you might be thinking, all right, that's kind of interesting, but maybe just the girly girls seek out Disney princesses and the princess culture. So are there any real long-term effects? So that's what we're looking at right now. And we still have 100 kids to collect the data on, so these are kind of preliminary results, but I think they're telling. So this longitudinal data set, it's a year later. And 134 children from the initial data set from BYU and Linfield, 78% of them were tested a year later, and the parents completed the same questionnaire. Now, this is really fascinating. The body image, that good positive body image, fell out. So they're not having better body image over time. So it's just kind of an in-the-moment thing. And the same thing with the pro-social behavior. All right, so from a long-term standpoint, wasn't anything really positive coming out of the princess culture. All right, but here is my model for the longitudinal associations for gender stereotyping. And you'll see that even after controlling for how gender stereotyped they were initially, watching Disney princesses, playing with the toys, and identifying with princesses leads to more gender stereotyping in the future. So what these results show is that the Disney princess culture really is contributing to this whole girly girl world that we're seeing so much of these days. All right, so some of the main things I take from this. So little girls love Disney princesses. We knew that. Disney knows that. They're making much money from it. Disney princesses are good, but not so good for little girls. So I love those cross-sectional results. I wish we saw them over time. But at the same time, I'm concerned with the gender stereotyping results that we found. Yeah, I just said that. Okay. And as I've thought, the question is then, what happens when Daddy's little princess grows up? So you guys all watched Disney princess movies when you were a kid. I loved Disney princess when I was a little kid, right? What happens when you grow up? Are there any long-term effects? And we don't know. I'd love to continue to follow this sample later on. We just don't know what happens. This is really interesting. There's a whole wedding dress line by Alfred Angelo that are based off the Disney princesses. So you girls who are engaged and looking for a wedding dress, you could have Belle's wedding dress if you wanted to pay lots of money. So you could never leave the fantasy if you like. So I presented in a conference recently with a woman called Lisa Dinella about women who self-identify as princesses as adults. And how are they like? So 90 college-enrolled women, 33% said, yeah, I'm a princess. So you can think about that. Would you self-identify as a princess? I don't know. And I gotta say, so she's giving this talk, and I'm like, whoa. So my name's Sarah. It actually means princess, which is kind of fun. And my email up until I was 30 years old was princesssarah2@hotmail.com. So, and my nickname in high school was the Pineapple Princess. So we have a lot of princess stuff, my personal. Okay, so they did a bunch of surveys, asked them about their work and family expectations, and they had them do these really difficult tasks. And they saw, would they persevere? Would they finish the task? How hard did they work? Okay. All right, so princesses, so these are adult women who say, yeah, I'm a princess. They consider themselves to be more achievement-oriented and more occupationally driven. So when you ask them, yeah, I'm driven, I work hard. But we see a lot of the gender stereotyping again. They're more likely to want traditional division of labor, more emphasis on importance of mates, looks, and earning potential, which is really interesting, right? And they have less desire to join the workforce. And then here's the best part. So when they do a difficult task, princesses, as adult women, put forth a lot less effort than non-princesses. So they just give up. They can't persevere. So there's something about this princess culture that lasts even till adulthood. I think it's fascinating. So some lingering questions that I have. Should we want our kids to emulate Disney princesses? And what are the long-term effects? Are there any? Is the princess culture really all that bad? Is this girly girl culture that we're seeing all that bad? What are the good traits of princesses, and what can parents do to highlight these? So I'm going to show you one more video clip here. It's actually an advertisement from Disney about Disney princesses. And you see what you think about this.
I am a princess. I am brave sometimes. I am scared sometimes. Sometimes I am brave even when I am scared. I believe in loyalty and trust. I believe loyalty is built on trust. I try to be kind. I try to be generous. I am kind even when others are not so generous. I am a princess. I think standing up for myself is important. I think standing up for others is more important. But standing with others is most important. I am a princess. I believe compassion makes me strong. Kindness is power. And family is the tightest bond of all. I have heard I am beautiful. know I am strong.
I promise. And when I promise something, I never, ever break that promise.
I am a princess. Long may I reign.
I will give you all my money, Disney. I love you. That's some good advertising, right? Yeah. So, I've thought about this a lot. There are a lot of things about the princesses that I want my own daughter to be like. Kind and compassionate and trustworthy and honest and self-sacrificing and a defender and all these great qualities of princesses. But are those the ones that she picks up on when she watches it? Or does she focus on the pretty, pretty princess aspect? That's my job as a parent, to highlight those things. Okay. And I think that's where it ends for me. I like to come back to Hannah, who is now almost 6 years old. This is her recent school picture, and I give her dreams every night, right? She likes me to give her dreams, and I usually say, you're gonna dream about Disney princesses and about Tiana and Cinderella. And just last week she stopped me and she went, Mom, I think I'm done with Disney princess. I was like, what? I think I'm done with Disney princess. And I was like, really? She goes, I think I'm too big for him. Like, huh. And at first I was kind of excited, and that's great. Let's move on to other things. I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because she usually says, a princess. This time she said, I want to be a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. And I was like, that's great. That's what my husband does. I was like, that's so great, Hannah. And so as I think, she has taken some really great things from the princesses. She's the kindest girl I know. And she is strong, and she is brave, and all those things that she gets. And when I showed her the Campbell's soup that I bought from the store and it had the new Merida on it, she's flipping out. She's saying, that's the new Merida. I don't like her. I like the old Merida. And I was like, that's great. But a part of me is kind of sad that we're leaving princesses and dress up behind, because princesses is kind of magic of childhood, isn't it? And it makes me a little sad that we're moving on to new things, and it's a little scary. What are her media role models now? Right? It's all the girls from the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, and think about Miley Cyrus, who, wowed a generation of girls with Hannah Montana, and now you guys have seen the new video, right?